this chit chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Reynolds got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
It is our favorite day of the week around here on the King's Court. It is Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Welcome in. Court's in session. Happy to have you here. Ryan in Sacktown with you, taking you up till about the 5 o'clock hour. We've got some cool channel announcements. An announcement that we're going to get to. Many of you probably heard that on Grant's show last night. We've got audio also from the NBA media availability for the Pacers, also the Thunder, focusing a little bit more on the Pacers side. Yes, I am aware of some of the reports out there. And Stephon Diggs, man, you were a day too late, but that's all right. I made an exception. I have a grievance with you, my man. So thanks. Sit back, grab some popcorn, whatever it may be. Popcorn's like the best thing that used to be at Arco Arena. Still pretty good at the Golden One Center. Really good in Stockton. So, yeah, we use popcorn around here, but thanks for letting me into your homes, your ears. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, appreciate the downloads. The podcast has exploded the last week since going back up. So thank you very much for that. And as I said, Jerry Reynolds joins us. So if you have questions for Jerry, put them in the chat. We will try to work as many in. I can only imagine how much Tristan has been cramming. He probably put like his laptop under his pillow when he slept last night, hoping for osmosis, that perfect random question. I think it's supposed to be about golf, Tristan. Golf, my man. Thinking for that one for Jerry today. Adam, he's going to come in here with some wrestling question, probably about Gunther. Horse, who knows? And Peter, who's your obscure player? Who is it? All going down 4 o'clock. Jerry joins us.
Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, let the good times roll. King's legend in the house, he's got the game on the scroll.
He likes it too. So, anyways, the announcement. Grant back at 8 o'clock tonight. That's not the announcement though. If you joined Grant last night, you probably heard, I know Matt George put out a tweet on Scott Pollard's upcoming little documentary. It's a story that's going to be playing on Father's Day. Son of Pearl. It's about his journey through the transplant and just going to be an excellent piece. That plays Sunday, but Grant announced last night that he's got somebody coming on Thursday. Who you got, Napes?
So a special Thursday show coming your way at 5 o'clock Pacific. I'm going to be speaking live with the director of the E360 documentary on Scott Pollard called The Son of Pearl. And I just watched it. They sent it to me, and it is unbelievable. Very powerful. An incredible documentary on Scott's heart transplant, his dad. It's fabulous. And so Daniel Lindbergh, who directed this documentary, is going to be on with me Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific. So I hope that you're able to join me for that. I think you're going to find it unbelievably interesting. The debut of that is going to be on Father's Day. So it's coming up this Sunday, and we'll talk more about that on Thursday. Stanley Cup playoffs.
So there you go. Make sure you mark it down on your calendars. Thursday, 5 p.m., the director of Son of Pearl. Daniel Lindbergh's going to be on with Grant. We will have no King's Court. It's going to be digital only. So audio only. Make sure you make your way to Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. You will find the King's Court. We'll do one, a lot to talk about. One thing that I didn't say in the opening that we're going to do if we have enough time, and I want to do this with Jerry. I want to mix in a little bit of fun to keep things fresh. We're going to take a look back at the 2022 draft. Yes, that is the draft where the Kings moved up and picked Keegan Murray at 4. Let's look back at that draft, and don't start putting them in yet. We're going to do it here in a little bit, but I want to take a look back at that draft and see how we would draft it today, knowing what we know about the players. I think Keegan Murray still is in the top 5. I think he's in the top 5, but we'll get to that as well. So Tristan, all-nighter, love it, my man. Frisbee golf. No, I don't even think Jerry would know what Frisbee golf is. And you know what? He might. Frisbee golf, let me tell you this. It is not as easy as it looks. I was watching the professional tour because they put them on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, this has got to be my new thing. Like, it's perfect for me. Because I had my hips replaced, so golf is a little bit difficult. Can't do it quite as much as I'd like to these days. But Frisbee golf, you mix in the walking. How hard is it to throw a Frisbee? When we were in Wisco last summer, I got through about 3 or 4 holes, and I'm thinking you can just toss this thing. Super easy. It'll go 100, 200 yards. No. No chance. All the different discs as well, like knowing which one to use, the different types of throws. Man, I got respect for people to do that. It's a good way to get out, though. And the Wisco course, oh my gosh, the hills, my man. Andrew, what's up? How you doing today? Acknowledge me. Dennis says, let's go. Yeah, Dennis, you also said that the Pacers were going to get swept. We'll get to it. You think it's going to be Trae Young? I don't know. Okay. We'll talk about it in a second. There are rumors. What Dennis is referring to is there's rumors out there. And you know what? Can we acknowledge the Kings really quick? Acknowledge me. Here's why I want to acknowledge the Kings. At least their eyes are pointed in the correct direction. It looks like they identified the problem that many of us have felt has hurt the Kings over the past couple of years. I think, was it Domas that said in the exit interviews?
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Yeah. So let's give the Kings. What do the kids say these days? They're flowers for a team that has not done things great, especially process-wise, other than develop talent and win G League championships. Looks like they're at least pointing their eyes in the right direction. Problem with both of those players is their contracts. You're not just getting those guys for nothing. You will significantly change what the makeup of this team if you go after either of them. I think one is a safer play over the other, but I think the one that's safer does not have the same upside to me as the other. But would we have already seen that upside? You guys can probably guess where I'm going with that. So, but Dennis, he thinks it's going to be one of those two. We'll see. We'll ask Jerry about it. So again, if you have questions for Jerry Reynolds, get them into the chat. Media availability today for the NBA Finals. I was definitely pointing my eyes and my ears towards Indiana. Wanted to see what's going on with Hallie. He's had some reports of maybe a nagging injury, limping after last game. Also, yesterday, we talked about the key adjustment that I felt the Pacers needed to make in order to remain competitive in this series. After all, the Pacers have only led 1 minute and 56 in 2 games. They've lost 6 of 8 quarters in 2 games. Have we seen the best of the Thunder? Maybe. I think you can make an argument for that. After all, the Thunder their net rating in this series, a +16. Pacers, -16. But yet the Pacers did what they needed to do, and that was getting one on the road, because this is not the old style series that you remember growing up in the 90s where it's 2-3-2. It's 2-2-1-1-1. So all eyes turned to Indianapolis. The adjustment that I said the Pacers needed to make was they needed to get TJ McConnell on the court more. He is the only one that has been able to get some penetration consistently and get his feet into the paint. Here's the numbers that prove that out. Tyrese's assist percentage right now in the finals is 26.9%. You know what TJ McConnell's is? 55.3%. So you've got to find a way to get those two guys on the court. I understand you're going smaller, but you've got to get Hallie. You've got to get Siakam. Both guys have not been able to create their own shots in the NBA Finals. So here was a sample of the questions today. Tyrese asked about getting going here in the finals.
Tyrese, when someone's at your level, we often hear that there's not a defense you haven't seen. So I assume you've seen everything Oklahoma City is doing with you, but what makes them different? And how do you try to combat that in such high stakes here, game after game after game?
Yeah, I feel like at the point of attack, they got more guys than most teams in the NBA that are high level at the point of attack. They're really connected on the defensive end, and I feel like they mix up coverages. I think Coach Dagnall isn't afraid to just kind of do things on the fly. He doesn't do everything that's like very traditional. He will, if you're trying to get a 33, he'll come double like just out of nowhere. Then they've really done that all year. But I just feel like they're willing to mix things up, and I think the biggest thing is just personnel. Like their personnel is different than everywhere else. But I think playing 2 games against these guys is really good. It gives me more film to watch, see where I can be better. Feel like I haven't been great by any means through the first 2 games. So, I'm just trying to take what I can to prepare me for game 3, and just trying to be the best version of myself. So just keep watching film, see where I can get better. The answers always lie in the film.
Dustin, up front.
Hey, Ty. Keep going on that note, just how important is off-ball execution in these guys? Just to try to keep the swarming of the defense out of the paint.
Yeah, you got to mix things up. You can't give these guys the same dosage, the same look of anything. If you just try to run high pick and roll all game, they just crawl into you and really pack the paint and nothing's open. And so there's got to be a mix of things. Got to be off the ball, got to be playing off the pitch, got to be coming off ball screens, got to be you can't run the same thing consistently against these guys. You got to mix it up. So we got to do a much better job of that. I felt like I probably got caught in too many high pick and rolls, where they could really pack it in, and then we're getting shots late against the clock, especially in the first half of both games. So, we got to do a better job there, and that starts with me just getting us in better positions, playing out of different spots, all those things. So, definitely got to mix it up against these guys.
Joe, up front here.
So that was Tyrese earlier today, media availability. We're also going to maybe we'll play it later in the show. It was interesting to me. It might not be very interesting to you. We'll hear from Coach Carlisle as well about Tyrese, some of the adjustments that need to be made in this one. It's obvious what everybody wants to talk about, so let's talk about it. There are rumors out there that the Kings, again, I'm going to give them some credit. They know the point guard position is an issue. Yesterday, Peter, a couple of days ago, and I think he put it again yesterday, they need 2 point guards. They do. You're not getting these 2 point guards together. Let's just make that really, really clear. But I'm happy. They're looking in the right spots. Now, these are 2 top tier point guards in the NBA that are paid a lot of money, that play different styles, drastically different styles. You can make some comparisons between the two, but it is different. And I'm looking at some of the comments right now, and Mars puts, I don't know, a Trae Young, Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray, Bobby Portis, Walker Kessler, and 6-man Malik Monk. You're giving up 2 of 3 of those guys to get one of these. the composition of the Kings changes, which isn't, I'm not sitting here and arguing against it. A lot of you have already put in the chat that, oh, we're not going to play a lick of defense. We're going to have to score 150, 170. Probably not going to happen. And as you look at the trends right now in the NBA, in fact, you know what? You can't even argue this with me. I will not accept an argument from anybody on this. What kind of teams right now in the playoffs are playing that style? The playoffs are more physical. And a team like that you're talking about, unless you are the Golden State Warriors dynasty, and you've got that kind of balance, you're rolling into, let's say you do have a successful year, you make the playoffs, you're going to be faced with a different style of basketball. Hell, look at what the Pacers, the Thunder are kind of beating the Pacers at their own game. The one thing keeping the Pacers in this series right now is their transition defense. If it wasn't for their transition defense, this series is done. When you give up as many turnovers as you did in game 1, but you only give up 9 points off those turnovers against the team that has the record this season for turning teams over and efficiency on those turnovers, it's insane. So that's keeping them in there. And they're a team that likes to run. They're a team that likes to get up pace. They're also a team that can mix it up a little bit. You saw that in the New York series. Now, they're mixing it up right now with a team that has done it probably better than anybody in the last 20 years in the NBA when it comes to physicality and just hitting you nonstop, whether it's on the guard line, whether it's on the forward line. So with a Trae Young-led team, I kind of worry about that. I do. Another thing that I would worry about is the minutes together with Malik Monk and Zach LaVine from earlier this season. Zach LaVine needs some space, not to create his own shot, but he needs some space to run around, which means you need a point guard that's intentional. You need a point guard that's getting to spots, getting their feet in the paint. Trae Young can be that, but he can also be the opposite and dribble out the entire shot clock. Check that. He could dribble out the entire college shot clock sometimes. So I wonder about that fit. Now, Darius Garland, conversely, he's played on a really good Cavaliers team this year. He was injured down the stretch. I believe he had toe surgery just recently. Trae Young's contract is a little less desirable to me because he has a player option in 26-27. So could he opt out? Yes. Is he going to re-sign with Sacramento? Who knows? And by the way, if you're just joining us, by no means am I implying that the Sacramento Kings are getting either of those guys. I'm weighing the pros and the cons based on the reports that the Kings might be targeting both of them as top tier point guards to bring in to shake things up. I think another thing that can't be argued is it's the only thing left to try with this group of guys. You've not had a true point guard on this team with Domantas Sabonis. So this is the only thing that's left to try. And it's what Domas knows the team needs. It's what we all know the team needs. And it maybe, just maybe, that helps keep Domas happy. It gets you to the next All-Star break, trade deadline. But this would be a blockbuster trade. You're giving up, I would guess, to make the money work. You're definitely giving up, and you have to look too. What pieces would be desirable to either of these teams? Where's Atlanta at? Are they looking to retool, rebuild? What's desirable to the Cavs? The Cavs, they had trouble staying healthy. They had trouble scoring at times in the playoffs and playing up tempo. So what piece would work there? I think you have to start with Malik Monk. Malik Monk would be included in either of these deals. He's a good value at his contract. He's proven he can play. He's good for the locker room. I think Malik Monk is in any deal that would go for one of these guys, Trae Young or Darius Garland. Then from there, the conversation starts. Both would ask for Keegan Murray. You have to. You're not doing a good job as a general manager if you don't ask for Keegan Murray. Keon Ellis. But there you go. When I say you're changing the composition of the team, the way I look at the Kings, in the way that I look at their head coach, Doug Christie, the strength right now is defense. If you are able to bring back, assuming you're able to get Keon in that situation settled, which is a player or it's a team option, but if the Kings pick up the option, it complicates the extension after that because the option's only for 1 year. So assume you get that done. Assume you're able to bring back Jake LaRavia too. Jake says he's very interested, not quote unquote, but I'm paraphrasing, in playing for Doug Christie. So let's assume both of those guys sign back. You've got 4 different players on the roster that can theoretically switch anywhere. Keegan can switch 1 through 5. Keon, 1 through 4. Devin Carter, not sure. Probably 1 through 3. Maybe he shows us 1 through 4 this season, this coming season. And then you've got Jake LaRavia, who I think can switch in spots 1 through 5. You saw how well he played against Jokic. He can flash out. He can stay with most guards. So you are breaking up that composition. You are. So the Kings, how do you fill the other holes? You don't have a first-round draft pick this year. I think it's an interesting conversation. Again, I don't hate these names. Jerry Reynolds has brought up Trae Young for a while. We'll talk to Jerry about Trae and Darius Garland. Why would we want Trae Young? What a horrible pickup that would be. Well, I'm not against, if you're talking about a playmaker, you're talking about somebody the defense has to pay attention to. I'm not opposed to that. Now, as for the pick and roll, he really likes those high pick and rolls, and that's not really Domas's game. Domas wants to play a little bit more in a phone booth. So I wonder about the fit there. And then the last thing that worries me is it a rental? You're going to get a year and a half, or at best 2 years. 3 years out of Trae Young. Darius Garland's contract is guaranteed. And it is through, let me check this really quick, want to be accurate. Garland's guaranteed through 27-28. His number next year is 39.4, 26-27, he's 42.1, 27-28, he is 44.8. I just don't know, short of giving up a lot of draft capital, how the Kings, and again, you've got to make the money work because the Kings have so many spots to fill, how they're going to be able to do that. And Vivek, is he going to look at stepping into the luxury tax? I highly doubt it. It's an interesting conversation. Vivek may see Trae Young as a mini Steph Curry. If we get rid of Levine on that trade, okay, let's talk about that. Yeah, we're willing to take Zach. Done. But we didn't even tell you anything besides Zach. Done. Like, that's how quick it would be right now for me. I've actually been surprised to see Zach's name come up a few times. And of course, everybody's name, most people's names making that much money are going to come up in some type of talks throughout the internet and the basketball world in the offseason because it's the time to do it. But if you could get Levine in one of those deals, yes. Hell yes. Let's see. Excuse me. I shouldn't have said that word. Stay around, Progressive. Don't leave. Mars, I would give up 3 first, Levine, and Devin Carter for Young. You're going to give up 3 first-round picks? I don't know about that. You're basically saying that if you give up 3 first-round picks, you are saying this roster's there. This is our Aaron Gordon piece. And I don't think either of these guys are an Aaron Gordon piece to the Kings. Darius Garland, we talked about. Let me get to Trae Young's contract. That's what I wanted to go to. So we're talking the reports out there that the Kings might be targeting Garland or Trae Young this offseason. Again, it's good for
Well, the
me
biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
because they're looking at point guards. So Trae Young's contract, you would only have him. Okay, this is major. In fact, this is massive. You would only have Trae Young guaranteed for 1 year. You're going to give up. Now, Zach LaVine, I would think about it. I would think about a Zach LaVine, Devin Carter move for a year of Trae Young, simply because you are getting the LaVine contract off the books. And I think that gives you a little bit more room to expand roles for guys that you are kind of at a crossroads with. You need to see what they can do offensively, i.e. Keegan Murray. So, yeah, I would be open to that. But if we're talking about trading away what I consider universal pieces, the 4 that I gave you, just from a defensive sense or defensive stance, I just don't think you can do it. Trae Young has a player option next summer. It's 48.9. Is he going to pick it up? It's a good question. We have to see how free agency goes this summer, but that is a massive gamble. Unless you've got some type of indication that this is the place, Trae Young. And let me tell you, Atlanta and Sacramento, not exactly the same in terms of lifestyle. Darius Garland, I think, gives you. Darius Garland is the safer play if you had to pick out of these two. But I also think the ceiling is probably a little bit lower with Darius Garland. Jerry Reynolds has talked a ton about identifying players that are just kind of coming into their own. Get them, buy while their stock is a little bit lower. Trae Young stock right now, I'm not sure how to rate it. Do we know what Trae Young is? Which isn't a bad thing, but Darius Garland, I look at him, I think we kind of know more of what Darius Garland is. And the fact that you would have him under contract through 27, 28, that's a significant consideration to me. If you're going to be giving up any of the what we consider rotational core pieces of this team. And I'm going to put Zach LaVine in his own category of that conversation. Let's see, Tristan, isn't Garland out a long time with some injury? He just had toe surgery. He missed a lot of the playoffs because of that toe. LaVine has to go in any of those packages for 2 guards, and you will have to DeMar and Sabonis, another trade pieces to reshape the team. Yeah. I think DeMar, regardless if you're doing a deal like this, I think DeMar's probably gone. I think that is already, the writing's on the wall there. And there's interest from teams, respectable teams that want DeMar. So I think that we put that in its own category. You can't put him into conversations here. And it's really hard. It's almost like you have 3 lists. You've got DeMar because he's going to be his own trade, and you don't know what you're going to get back from that. As much as the Kings need picks, they need bodies. They need players. 3 guys that finished the year on the Kings roster were not in the NBA to begin the season. I don't want to set your expectations too high, but if I'm the Kings, I am really, really hoping that IJ has a great summer and that IJ develops enough to be a rotational player on this team this year. That would help the Kings a lot. Understand, I didn't say to be a starter. I didn't say to play 40 minutes. I said to be a rotational player this year. That would go a long ways into the Kings' planning, or at least their mindset when it comes to really shaking up the roster here, if they decide to go down that path. So I put DeMar in his own category. I put Zach LaVine kind of in that nobody really wants category, even though the money is perfect. The money works. So realistically, if you're looking at a Garland, you're looking at a Trae Young, we know the category that it's going to come from. And are you prepared to give up some of those names? FYI, just so you know, one of these graphics does not include Devin Carter. I want to make sure that you know that. The Kings have 6 tradable firsts. They have a tradable second. There's their exemptions. You're looking at, I don't see any world, that Malik Monk isn't part of a deal for either of those guys. I just can't see it. I think Monk has to be, for a couple of reasons, where he's at in his career and also the money. You lose Malik Monk. I'm not going to say guaranteed, but I am walking right up to that line if you make that trade. Monk is gone in a deal for Young. He's gone in a deal for Garland as well. Young, LaVine, Keegan, Sabonis. Again, why would you listen? You really think Cleveland wants to take on Zach LaVine right now with the chemistry that they've had? Think about Kenny Atkinson, their head coach. He had to go to Mitchell in the offseason and say, look, I know you can score 35, 37, 40 many nights, but I can't have that be your role on this team. If that's your role on this team consistently, our team cannot be the best it can be. However, if you can do A, B, C, D, and E, those nights are still going to come, and this team's going to be playing basketball that matters. So what did Spider do? He listened. He had an incredible season. What would the conversation be with Zach LaVine? You've got, and you're not in a spot where you're looking for an expiring contract, I don't think, if you're Cleveland. If you're Cleveland, you're probably looking at what do we need to, Cleveland's going to have to change significantly. As good as what they have was this season, it didn't get them there in the playoffs. And I understand they were injured, but every team, expect teams to be like New York last year in the offseason. If they think they have a chance, they've got to go all in right then. And if you don't think you can beat the team in front of you, then you need to retool or rebuild. So I don't know if Cleveland's ready to. I don't think they are that drastic of a move like a Zach LaVine away. I think there's closer routes to get there, which brings you back to Trae Young. Jonas, Monk, Keon, and a free agent to make the money work. Can't do a team without a 6-foot guard in Levine and Sabonis at center. You can't do a team. Okay. Very interesting. Patrick, off the clock. What's up, my man? Hope you're doing well. Jerry
Acknowledge me.
joining us in about 25 minutes. If you have questions for Jerry, let us know. Put them in the chat. BJ in the house. Day off, BJ? Hopefully. Nice. Contract, under contract, unless he's traded. The sky is blue. Water is wet. Coffee is hot. We know it's young for you. I agree. Who's going to take him? Again, if somebody called up and was like, yeah, we want Zach Dunn. Yes. Driving him to the airport now. And that's not a shot at Zach's game. That's a shot at Zach's contract and where the Kings are at. Zach LaVine didn't ask to come to Sacramento. He's here in Sacramento. This Kings mess wasn't designed and executed by Zach LaVine. So it's not fair to make him a scapegoat, but he is the singular piece that completely complicates the Kings route to either rebuilding or trying to compete. He is the one single piece. And who knows, he could also be the single piece that makes them compete. We just didn't see that for the sample size we saw after the trade deadline. So maybe it's different. Let's be realistic. Trade Devin Carter plus picks for Case and Wallace. Trade DeRozan for John Collins. Sign Jake LaRavia and Kai Jones. I don't think Utah's going to want DeRozan. And I don't think DeRozan will want Utah. Imagine going from Halliburton to Fox to Trae Young. Do you notice the Hawks, by the way? I want to point this out really quick. I think it's important. And I understand they're not technically a small market team. But what year is Trae Young in right now? What season is it? Somebody put it in the chat. He's been a multiple-time All-Star. He's had a more successful career, I would argue, to this point than De'Aaron Fox. And the Hawks are already at that crossroads with Trae Young way sooner than the Kings wanted to visit the crossroads with De'Aaron Fox. The Kings extended Fox. And I get the rules are different in a small market. But it seems like sometimes the Kings go a contract too long with players. They're not willing to take a risk. The Hawks clearly are. It could be a risk giving up Trae Young. Point guard Wallace, Ellis, Levine, Monk's gone. Well, okay, you're saying that. Okay, I got you. You do. I have to say this. You lose a lot in the locker room if Malik Monk leaves this team. You lose a lot. Why would they do it? Why wouldn't they have already done it? Zach LaVine's been on the market for how many years? Real interesting stuff. I would agree. You're basically in that situation, you're giving up, and you're going to have to give up another player to make the money work because Trae Young has 43 or excuse me, 45 on the books, basically 46 next season. 26, 27. He's got 49 basically on the books. If I dig into the contracts a little bit more, I don't think, let's see, Young's contract slightly larger. One of them has the trade bonus where the contract goes up 50% or like 15%. I believe that is Trey Young. If I am doing this right. One of them does have, 15. Oh, excuse me. I'm wrong. Darius Garland has the 15% trade kicker, much like Zach LaVine did. So you got to consider that. Interesting. Coach Carlisle today, and we're going to get back to this conversation. I'll put some of your comments up as we go. Want to play the audio from Coach Carlisle leading into tomorrow's Game 3, very important one. As I said earlier in the show, the Pacers have only led a minute 56 over 2 games, and they've lost 6 of 8 quarters to the Thunder. The question that I have is, can the Thunder realistically play any better? I don't know. I think maybe we've seen the Thunder's best shot. So can Indy come up? And credit to Indy. Their transition defense has kept them in games. Their transition defense is what has done it. But I think there's still an adjustment or two out there. TJ McConnell, more minutes with Halliburton is one that I'm looking at. McConnell's assist percentage in this series, 55%. Halliburton's 26 point something percent. That tells you how much more effective, at least getting by your defender, he's been. Here's Coach Carlisle earlier today.
Up front.
Couple of Tyrese questions for you. He was limping noticeably after game 2, and I know he was out there at practice today, but is he hurt in any way? And then assuming that he plays, which I'm sure he will, is there anything that you want to see from him that you haven't seen in games 1 and 2?
Well, at this time of year, I don't know if anybody's feeling perfect. Joe, how do you feel? You feel all right? Yeah. So he practiced and he went through everything. I know he has some discomfort. He feels it, but each day it's getting better. I don't think you're going to hear him making a big deal out of it. This is the time of year where it just doesn't get any better than this. The atmosphere, the interest, the opportunity, coming back and being at home. I mean, there's just so much to be excited about. So, we've got a couple guys that are, slightly under the weather, but I don't think anything's going to keep these guys from playing in the game.
Jamal, next question up front.
When you evaluated Tyrese is saying in the last couple of series, a lot of pressure. Teams face guarding him, trying to take him out of the game. The Cavs, the Knicks. Are there similarities when you sort of evaluate the way that the Thunder have tried to approach that? And do you feel like he can draw from the previous 2 series the way he sort of broke out of that for this one?
Yeah, there are similarities. The difference is Oklahoma has more people to throw at a great player, and really at both of our all-stars. They can throw different. They can throw bigger, smaller, medium guys at Tyrese and at Pascal, and so it's one of their strengths. And so we've gone through these situations many times, not only during the playoffs but during the regular season, not just this season but prior seasons. And so we're going to have to adjust and create better situations. We're going to have to be better.
Over here, Vince.
Rick, Vince Goodwill, y'all.
And I think that adjustment is what I said before we heard from Coach Carlisle. You know what was incredible to me listening through the interviews today and the availability? It was the amount of questions about Caitlin Clark. Yes, these guys are up there in the middle of the NBA Finals, and they're fielding questions about Caitlin Clark. She plays there. I get it. But that just kind of throws me a little bit. I mean, sure, the NBA Finals is kind of like the NBA convention where all the media comes together, but I don't know. You got to have a set on you to walk up to the podium when a team is 1-1 in the NBA Finals and ask about Caitlin freaking Clark. You kidding me? You know who else has a set on him? This guy, Stephon Diggs. You remember a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Stephon Diggs while his team was at OTAs, optional team activities? His new team, the New England Patriots. This dude's on a boat. I know, Eric, you don't fish on a boat. You fish on a boat. He's on a boat, partying it up, posting on social, the good old time, and oh yeah, that bag of pink stuff, which many of you have pointed out is a mixture of substances, all of which are illegal in the United States. So Coach Vrabel has to go up, field questions about Stephon Diggs. Do you know what's in the pink bag? Have you talked to him? How you handling this? Right? Well, Diggs returned to practice not too long ago. He's there right now. And finally, he stepped to the podium or in front of his locker for the first time and took questions. Per the New York Post, Stephon Diggs is aware people want to know about the pink substance he passed out to bikini-clad women in a video from a boat party. You know, the last time I checked, it is really not good to be passing substances out to anyone, but especially with everything going on in the news right now that I don't need to get into. Incredible. But the new Patriots receiver is keeping details close to the vest. You want to talk about a freaking hypocrite? Wait for this. Wait until I read this quote. In fact, I need to preface it with this, Stephon.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Stephon was asked about the pink substance. Quote, I want to be as candid with you as possible, but I kind of have a thing where I don't talk about my personal life with people I don't know personally. Excuse me? You don't talk about your personal life with people that you don't know personally. Well, Stephon, how much more personal does it get when you post out a picture of you with a pink substance and 3 bikini-clad women, my man? I would consider that sharing personal information. And the last time I checked, I doubt you know every single follower personally on your social. So how do those two worlds mix? They don't. Again, quote, I want to be as candid with you as possible, but I kind of have a thing where I don't talk about my personal life with people I don't know personally, end quote. Might be one of the worst plays that involves social media that I have seen since Mark Jones sending his goodbye message to X. He went on to say, I had a conversation with Mike Vrabel, obviously, and I'll echo everything he said, hoping everybody is making good decisions. And I had a conversation with people in the building. So everything else is everything else. The particulars are all internal. Stefan, my question for you is how you define personally. What do you define personally? Does sharing drugs with somebody mean that you have a personal relationship with them? Do you have a personal relationship with everybody that reads the stuff you put out on social? I don't think you do. And I get there's some nuance between the two, but you're getting pretty damn personal when you're sending pictures of your vacation around other women that aren't your girlfriend, and you're holding a quote unquote pink substance. What a joke. He should have just not taken the question at all. We're not talking about it. Just like Mark Jones should have put his tail between his legs and walked away from X. We didn't need your goodbye message telling us how much hate is on X. X is actually a better place without Mark Jones. All that's now on Blue Sky. He took that hate over there. Think about that. I just said X is a better place. It's crazy. X is nuts. I know some of you have X accounts. Many of you are watching on X accounts. You can find just about anything on X. It's insane. Like, there needs to be an app to keep you away from the other stuff. Because the second you accidentally, and that's why you can't watch stuff on X, because then one of those random videos pops up, something you would never normally look at, and all of a sudden, that stuff starts hitting your timeline. There is somebody, that's a $1 million idea. Somebody go take it and run with it. Develop some software that integrates with X, that filters for you. Sure, there's something out there already. Maybe X has the answer to it, but what a joke. Come on, Stefan. Just don't even take questions about it. Another example of athletes making a bad situation worse. Matthew, pink stuff is not a beginner drug too. He's done a lot to get to that. Yeah, I mean, maybe, Stefan, here's an idea. Hit up Doug Christie. Get some of that stuff that's in the bottle that he sniffs before every game. Might get you to a similar place. And I get that amphetamines and different things throughout the years, greenies, have been used in baseball and other sports to get up. You've heard Charles Barkley's stories about playing after drinking, et cetera, et cetera. But in this day and age, how tone deaf and stupid, just stupid, are you? Or let me take it a step further. Maybe you are that far gone when that picture is being taken that you don't give a bleep that you're holding drugs. You care about sending a picture out to millions of people that you quote unquote don't personally know because you want to show them how many girls you have around you on a boat. Stupid. Idiot. I'm sorry. Like, the Patriots needed to step in there. They should have just said, don't say a word. If you're dumb enough to get caught in that situation in this day and age, then that guy is not going to do anything to make it better. He's only going to make it worse. He's only going to make it worse. Just saying. What's up, Flores? How you doing today? We got Jerry Reynolds coming up here in just a few minutes.
Acknowledge me.
It's so irresponsible. I don't even know where to start. Who's driving the boat? I mean, it's a luxury yacht. Dude's not driving it. But you get my point. Like, it just, if you lead such a personal life, again, his quote in response to what was in the bag, I want to be as candid with you as possible. But I kind of have a thing where I don't talk about my personal life with people I don't know personally. That's the end of his quote. Let me continue the quote for him. But I have no problem sending out pictures of me with multiple women in bikinis on a boat doing drugs. And none of those women are my girlfriend. I love sharing that stuff with people I don't know personally. So if you have a question about that stuff, put it into that type of form to where it fits into that world where I will share that information. Like, does the reporter need to get down on the pink stuff with you to become personal now? It's just silly. It's so silly. What's up, Patrick? What's up, Paul? Hope everybody's having a great day. One thing that is not silly, well, it might be silly if you don't get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com and make your reservation right now for Father's Day. Coming up this weekend. Happy early Father's Day to all you. We've got a big month this month. Nate's birthday, 18th. Mine, the 21st. We got Father's Day. So happy Father's Day in advance to any of you out there celebrating for your dad or celebrating for you. It's a big deal. I think Father's Day, as you get older, is a bigger deal than your birthday. That's just me. If you're a dad, maybe I'm wrong there. But it's a bigger responsibility taking care of somebody else than taking care of yourself, because you got to take care of yourself. You get my point. Anyways, back to Bennett's. Take care of yourself on Father's Day by going to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Make a reservation for brunch either at Roseville, Rockland, Howland, Fair Oaks. Amazing stuff. Prime cuts of seafood and steak brunch from 11 to 2 p.m. this weekend. And every weekend, if you can't make it for brunch, go for prime rib this weekend as well. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights at all 3 locations. If you've not been to Bennett's, you are missing out. I'm telling you, everything is so good. You guys argue with me about the Cobb salad. Just go try it. There won't be an argument anymore. They've got amazing fish. Yes, on a horse. They have the red fish blackened with a side of spinach. Awesome. And many other offerings, very affordable too. Running specials all week long, happy hour, 2 to 6 p.m. So go check them out, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Let us know when you go in and let them know that you heard about them here on the channel. I know some of you have chatted up Brian and mysteriously your check shrinks. So make sure that you go tell them thank you for sponsoring the channel and enjoy everything they have to offer. Again, Bennett'sRestaurants.com, 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area. Bring you back in. Jerry Reynolds joining us here in about a minute. So if you've got some questions for Jer, put those in the chat. There we go. Look at Tristan. He's coming right out of the gate with his question for Jerry. I love it. Let's see. The pink stuff is called STD. Is that supposed to be a joke? Or is the pink stuff really called STD? Interesting. Never heard that. But then again, I never heard of the pink stuff until Stefan decided to post it with people that are not in his personal life, that he doesn't know personally. Anyways, we move off of a knucklehead and we bring in a legend every Tuesday. Jerry Reynolds joins us to talk basketball, talk Kings. If it's up to Tristan, sometimes table tennis. He is such a trooper for it, and we are lucky to have him. It is time for Jerry Reynolds Tuesday.
It's Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, let the good times roll. King's legend in the house, he's got the game on the scroll. With endless coaching wisdom and stories to share. When he talks shit, birds, and Kings basketball, you better be there. Jerry Reynolds Tuesday's the place to be. Basketball magic, it's a sight to see. Chicken and dumplings on his plate. With a side of laughter, it's a perfect fate.
I see that big smile. I see that song making you smile, big guy.
Oh, that gets me going. I don't care what kind of mood I was in. I'm in a
Love
good
it.
one now. And and I'm ready for Tristan. I'm ready for Tristan. I don't whatever he comes up with. I've been studying all week.
Well,
I'm
let's get
ready
it
for
out of
him.
the way right now. Here we go. Jerry, Tristan, who's your dark horse to win at Oakmont?
A dark horse. Well, I don't know if it'd be hard to, because anybody that's won a major would be a dark horse. So I don't know if I'm allowed to pick a guy who's won a major. But if let's put it this way, I'm taking my pick would be Colin Morikawa to win. Now he's won a couple of majors. They've been PGAs, I think, but I would think he'd be considered a dark horse because it's a long hitters course, and he's not real long. But I think he's accurate. That's why I'm picking.
Yeah, has he
Looking
won
forward
much
to
of
it.
late, Jerry?
Yeah. No, he hasn't. He really hasn't been sharp at all for him. I don't think he's got a win this year, and but he's had I think a couple of top 10. So he might be, I think, right to break out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love the majors, and it's one of those things where Scotty Scheffler is looking more and more like the next Tiger and Jack. I don't know if he can ever get there to that level, but he's sure been dominant the last 2 years.
When he had got his third win in May, he tied the Rockies. I believe he either tied or surpassed the Rockies for wins in a month.
In a month, yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's of course you got to have a lot of help from the all-time worst team to make that possible.
How would you rate rate the majors for yourself? What's your favorite to least favorite?
My favorite, my favorite's the Masters. The Masters is my favorite. The British Open or the Open is my second. U.S. Open third, and fourth PGA. Is
something different about the Masters. They do a good job of making it just feel so much more important than every other golf tournament.
Yeah, and the course is so immaculate and beautiful. I've been there one time, for a practice round, like on a Wednesday, and of course this was back in the mid 70s. Show you how long ago that was when I was coaching in Georgia, and yeah, it's just breathtaking, really, and they're very different. The course, what fools you there is you really can't understand the hills unless you're there. It's like on TV, it doesn't quite do justice to the undulations and just the sharpness of the hills, and where players got to learn to hit on up slopes, down slopes, stuff like that. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I love watching golf. Of course, it's a great sport, and the athletes are the classy young people. I love the I watch LPGA Champions Tour. I watch it all. Next to basketball.
So how are we grading Tristan's question this week?
Well, it probably didn't come up quite to Tristan's standards. Did you think? I thought it was kind of a little bit mediocre. Really, I'm a little disappointed because I've come to have a lot of respect for his questions. Because he usually comes out of left field, and that was pretty much. That was kind of a single dissenter.
It was, but we have to consider this coming from what he came from last week. That improvement,
oh yeah,
Jerry.
Oh yeah, well at least there was a real attempt to get into the real world of sport. So Tristan, we do appreciate the fact that you have decided to come into actual things that some people most people have a tiny bit of interest in it, at
Absolutely
least.
love it. All right, we're going to talk NBA Finals in a second, but first, Patrick has a question about the Knicks job. What's your opinion on Jason Kidd as a coach?
Well, I think he's an excellent coach. I think he would do a good job for the Knicks if that happens. The problem he's going to have is, if in fact you have to win a championship to keep your job in New York, then I would say he'll be a one-year coach if that's the criteria. You know, and then when they put out the reason for firing Tibbs was they said we're about winning championships. It's like, well, actually you're not. You hadn't won one since 1973. So that would be erroneous. So I wish them the worst. I don't wish Jason the worst, but I mean, I wish the Knicks the worst, because I think it's one of those cases to where you had a coach that took them from nowhere to a Eastern Finals, and they were nowhere for about 15 years. They're kind of like the Kings with Mike Brown that first year. I mean, except to Tibbs' case, he had a 3 or 4 year really strong run.
Well, I agree with everything you said, by the way. I thought it was interesting that Dolan, even though he reportedly didn't want Tibbs, he still let the hire go through. So you're thinking like maybe Dolan's grown a little bit, but it seems like they are back to where they're at. And when it comes to both jobs, considering everything you just said, which one do you think is more desirable, Dallas or New York?
You would think that it'd be Dallas with their, but I think the thing that why Jason Kidd might consider leaving if he gets the opportunity or allowed to is, the ownership change. It's not Mark Cuban there anymore, who hired him. And often owners who take over a team, they want to hire their own coach. And so he might be feeling a little bit of that, a little bit less love than maybe is required. And certainly the Luka trade, which probably made without his being involved or consulted, if you're a quality coach like himself, that wouldn't set very well.
And Don Nelson spoke out about that earlier this week at the NBA Finals. He got the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Coaches Association. Jerry, any good Nelly stories?
Well, I mean, Nelly, I mean, what a great coach. He was, I'll say this for Nelly. My first experience for Nelly was in the Rules and Competition Committee meeting. This was in the late 80s. I was representing the Kings. But anyway, Nelly kind of ruled the roost. And, he was able to, it was amazing. He's the one that pushed through all the illegal defensive guidelines, where for your older fans would remember. But you could have a big center that really wasn't any good, and place him out there where basically the 3-point line is, and you had to guard him, even though he couldn't shoot or wouldn't shoot, but you still. So what it did, it created open spaces and driving lanes and all that for his 4 good players, and that's what he had. He had 4. This was in Milwaukee, and he had, Marcus Johnson and Sidney Moncrief and some Paul Pressey, the smaller, a little bit smallish team at that time. And he used 3 centers, called it the 3-headed monster. I think Paul Mokeski, and I don't know who the other 2 guys were, but they Randy Brewer, Paul Mokeski, and somebody else. And they would try to guard the basket a little bit and get fouls and stay out of the way of the actual players. And so, it really ticked me off because, it's like then Utah did it with Mark Eaton. They'd stand him out there, 7'4" guy, and you had to assign a guy to him or it'd be illegal defense. And so, Stockton Malone could, play 2-man game and beat you. So anyway, that's my first impression, Nelly. I said, yeah, it's like you're and his speech was how he's going to be good for the league. Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's terrible for the league. It wasn't good for the league, but it's good for Nelly.
Well, you've got like the brightest basketball minds in the room. How do you pull that wool over their eyes?
I know that was the thing that bugged the heck out of me. Anyway, it was my first year, and I was kind of afraid to say very much, but you said, yeah, but I'm like you. I thought, well, if all these experienced guys, in here, Chuck Daly and Jack Ramsey and all these kind of guys, they don't, they think it's okay.
Can't go against them. I hear you. Paul,
Yeah.
Jerry, you are GM and coach of the Kings. Who do you absolutely keep, if at all possible?
Well, I'd start with the young guys, Keegan Ellis. I think Devin, I wouldn't say at all costs, any of them. I don't think any of them at all costs. If Milwaukee wants to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo for Keegan as much as, even though he's much younger, I would do that. Just, okay, because he almost guaranteed 50 wins. But Keegan and Carter and Keon Ellis, I think are three guys you can build around. And then I think probably for everybody else, if I could make a deal that I think makes my team better going forward, and I would put the caveat that I wouldn't want to get older players. I mean, not saying it have to be 22 years old, but if I'm going to trade anybody, I want to get somebody younger than who.
Well, Jerry, that's where this whole beam team run started. After the playoff year, it's like, we want young guys. We don't want to bring age on. And then all of a sudden, things slowly changed.
Yeah, that was that. Well, that was something we talked about in the past. It's like we went from having, 48 win team, but one of the younger teams in the league, and very confident where they were heading. So things seemed to fit, and I understood running it back to some degree. But I think with any team, you'd say you're always looking to improve it. You should be, because your opposition is trying to improve, and they in effect didn't, and then. So the season ended a little bit on a sour note. Injuries had something to do with it. And then, like say, at the end of this year, you had to say, look at the roster and say, look, we're not as good and we're older. And it's like, whoa, that's the wrong direction.
And then you got older with DeMar.
Yeah. I mean, DeMar and certainly Levine is. I mean, they're not. This isn't a terribly old team, but it would not be considered young anymore. You're close. I think you're well below average in the NBA as far as age of when you're major players. So, it's one of those things. If your record got worse and you actually got younger, you might rationalize it that way. But to get worse and get older, I don't think you can rationalize.
That's a great point. All right. Okay, this is going to put you in a spot. I'm sorry for putting you in the corner. Are the Kings the least attractive situation right now in the Western Conference?
It's a great question. I still think New Orleans would be less attractive for different reasons. I mean, with the Zion mess coming off a lot of losing, certainly not very attractive situation. Probably, Portland isn't super attractive, but they're young, and so you've got to be. I think most people would probably say, hey, you'd feel better about them due to their youth. But Phoenix would be the other one. I definitely don't think they'd be any more attractive. The only thing that their advantage they have over the Kings is they have one asset they can for sure trade and get younger if they want to.
Any team in the NBA. Any team is taking that guy.
NBA. Any team. Yes.
Devin Booker, the guy we are speaking of. So it looks like the Kings, per some reports, which is good, they are listening to Domas.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
And looking in the point guard market, one name that you have brought up many times on this show, Trae Young, has been included in some reports. The other, Darius Garland. Jer, the Kings would have to give up some, at least significant piece, but how do you like those two guys?
Well, there'd be marked improvement over what we currently have. So let's start there. I don't know that either one of them are better or as good as De'Aaron Fox was. And So put it that way. Let's go back. So, but that doesn't change it. I mean, it still be you don't have the current roster has nobody as good as Garland or Trey Young. They're both all-star caliber players, and so there's that. Now, of course, Garland is going to be maybe unavailable for maybe the first month of the season, or at least the preseason due to an injury, which he missed most of the playoffs with. So there, you'd have to factor that in. Money-wise, Trey Young makes a little more. Having said all that, if I had a choice, I think Trey Young's the better player, and I'll tell you why. I mean, he's got a better track record. He's actually been a little more durable, and he has been the main player on a team that did get to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 years ago. So he's got a pretty good resume there. People since then have kind of focused on what he can't do. He's not a real good defender. No, he's not. I'll tell you what else he is, though. He's as good a playmaker as there is in the league. He is right with Tyrese Halliburton or whoever you want to put there. He's a great passer. And so, Garland's an excellent passer, but he's not as good as Trey Young, in my opinion. And the records, I think.
Do you feel like Trey Young's kind of been put out on an island to a degree with Atlanta?
Yes, I do. But that, that kind of happens when teams start struggling, of course, and you understand it. It's like generally when teams are going well, it's because whoever is their best player gets most of the credit. And when teams start struggling, whoever the best player is really is going to get most of the blame, kind of like a quarterback in the pros or college. That's the way and that's maybe justified. I think his supporting cast hasn't been as good the last couple of years due to injuries, trades, whatever, and bad drafts or whatever. So I think it's one of those things. I thought by the end of the year seemed like they were starting to get some things together. But at the end of it, he's an all-star talent. He's proven that, and I don't know what you have to give to get him. And I think if I'm the Hawks, I might be wanting to move him, but I'm going to want something awfully good to make up for.
Yeah, I'm with you. He has a player option, not next season, but the season after. So they're starting to get to that point. I guess would Domas be a great fit with Trey Young from a pick and roll standpoint?
Yeah, I think he would. I think that especially as Levine would be very much benefit by a playmaker his caliber. Like I say, I think with Garland, in my mind, his numbers a little bit were the benefit. He was benefited by Donovan Mitchell, who's their best player and created a lot of the situations that helped Garland get open shots because Donovan's going to get the double teams. I think, he's in my mind, Trey Young probably does everything on the offensive end better than Fox did, with the exception, but defensively, he's not nearly as good. So I'd put it there. And then having said that about his defense, actually, he and Halliburton are fairly close there.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's fairly close there now. He doesn't have I think with Hallie, the thing, he's not a particularly good individual defense, but he's got good team instincts, and so that makes
100%. That's a great point. We're going to talk finals here in a second. We've had this conversation, but front court, rim protection, couple names you're looking at.
Well, some of the same old, I guess. Naz Reid is going to be a free agent and can opt out, which he will. I think he'd be a terrific guy if you could get him. Bobby Portis. I still like Collins, John Collins a lot. I like John better than Laurie Marketing anymore because he rebounds and defends better. And actually probably shoots it better. He I thought this year had it. Well,
he's more available.
And he's more available and cheaper.
That's a great point.
And so those guys, I think any of those guys would really help this team in all those things. I'm not saying they're, ideal shot blockers. I mean, the ideal guy for me for this team, Nas Reed would be close, probably Jaren Jackson Jr., but I don't see any way you get him. I mean, with Sabonis, he would absolutely be perfect, because he really is a terrific 3-point shooter, doesn't really like to play in the post, doesn't have a post game per se. So they'd be a good fit. And then defensively, he's as good a shot blocker as there is in the league. So
very interesting take. I have not heard somebody take Collins over Markkanen, but I don't necessarily disagree. True or false? For the Kings to have a good year, they're going to have to get something from a rotational sense from Isaac Jones.
I think that's true. I mean, I think he has the ability to be a rotation player, and I mean, I think it seems like what little minutes he's played, he's always found a way to be productive. He's one of those guys, you give him 5 minutes and he'll get a block or a alley oop or something. I mean, and he's getting better. I'd like to think, if you could figure out a way to get him 10, 15 minutes a game, I think he could be a nice, probably 9th, 10th man.
Yep,
that's what we're talking about.
100%. Jerry joining us here on the King's Court. Appreciate you being here. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. Let's talk finals really quick, and then we'll end with some rapid fire about the Kings. We got some more questions there. Series tied 1-1. I'm going to give you the floor. Your overall thoughts on the series thus far.
Well, two really fun teams. I mean, really exciting the way they play. Obviously, Indiana, I think the better offensive team. Oklahoma City, the better defensive team. They both have terrific benches. I mean, I think the reason I think it might go 7, I think Oklahoma City is the better team, but the reason I think Indiana might push them to 7, they've got 2 guys that have championship pedigrees, Pascal Siakam and Rick Carlisle. And I think that means something.
Sure.
And we're so for the both other teams, the guys are still. It's a new experience, and you don't know from game to game how it'll go. But I do like Oklahoma City better because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player. He's the best player on the floor, and so that gives you an advantage there. And the role players and everybody's a role player compared to him, and they all know to fit in with him. Where I think with the Pacers, I mean they really have their slots too, and I mean, but they're with Halliburton being the leader of the team and the playmaker. I mean, certainly they've got guys that can score, but so much of it does depend on Hallie scoring himself and then getting everybody involved. He's really got a lot of pressure on him, and I was. Don't mean to be name drop, but I was talking to Larry Bird before it started.
Oh, wow.
Just talking about some thoughts. And I said, there's 2 things strike me before this starts that may depend on how it goes. And I said, for Indiana to win, they've got to be able to keep Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the line. He's going to be on there some, but he can't be getting 8, 10 free throws. I think it's going to be tough to beat him because he's so good creating his own shots anyway. Yep. And then the second thing is it really be a key of making sure that Halliburton can some way get away from Lou Dort.
Amen.
Because Lou Dort is going to guard him. He's going to guard him better than he's been guarded. And I always said that was one of the smartest things, that Rick Carlisle did, and probably took a little criticism unfairly at the end of the game 1, letting the game go, not calling a timeout.
Yes.
People don't realize if and he knew, and I'm sure he was thinking the same way. If I call a timeout, Lou Dort's going to be on Halliburton.
Great point.
And the way it was in the open court, Dort couldn't get to him. and so is Watson or Wallace, I think it was on him. And he's a good defender, but he's not a great defender. And then Hallie was able to turn a corner and get a shot up. So it's all those game within the game sometime. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that series, and that's why I think each game is going to be its own game. I don't think so-called momentum's it. Momentum is for basketball players is the first shot that goes in.
It's a great point, especially with so much time off between games in the finals. To your point, so that conversation with Larry, very interesting because as I've watched two games, the Pacers have only led for a minute 56. They're negative 16 in two games. The Thunder are plus 16. You hit the nail on the head. Halliburton and Siakam both have not been able to create space and create offense for themselves. Just period, end of story. So do you feel the adjustment, or I feel, and I want to get your take on this, the adjustment is you've got to go with less strength and you've got to play Hallie some more minutes with TJ McConnell, Jerry?
I think so too. I think TJ takes a lot of pressure off Hallie, and he's actually probably tougher for them to match up with in a lot of ways. He can get places on the floor, and no, I think that I would agree with you 1,000% there. And I'd also probably, if I were Carlisle, I would think in terms of trying to get Naismith and Nembhard more involved early. They're both capable of big scoring games, and I mean, go into the idea, hey guys, we need more from you. We're going to get you involved, and then if you could establish those guys early, then that makes it easier for Siakam and Hallie just to go ahead and then maybe not getting so much focus.
Yeah, if you're Coach Carlisle, are you thinking, and maybe you don't say it in front of the guys, but are you thinking we've taken the Thunder's best shot through two games and we're still split?
I think he has to think that. I mean, I think it's, the first game is they had 19 turnovers in the first half and we're down 12. And I thought then it's like, they're probably still in this game, even though they're down 12. And then the second half, of course, I thought, which is interesting because they scored 66 points against OKC, which is the best defensive team in the league. Mm-hmm. Now, both teams come out and made adjustments. I mean, to the Pacers' credit, they took much better care of the ball, didn't turn it over so much against and to the OKC's credit, they made the Pacers play a lot more half court.
Yes, they did.
They got it back in transition and really stopped the ball much better. So the chess game, I mean, you got two really good coaches and smart players on both teams, and adjustments, need to be made. And it will be interesting what little intricacies we see. It won't be major, they got to play who they are, who they are, but there's little adjustments that can be made. Oklahoma City, you notice second game played two bigs, which they did, and they won the game too. They played Hartenstein a good bit more, and I thought it probably helped him. So we'll see what the Pacers do. I mean, I can see the Pacers maybe trying to figure out a way to get Obi Toppin more into the game. He wasn't really a factor in the game too, but he probably, as much as Hallie or Siakam, he might have been the third most valuable player for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a big game one. And the Pacers, to me, their transition defense has kept them in this series because the turnovers that you mentioned in the first half, that entire game, they only gave up 9 points off of those turnovers.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, really, I've watched a lot of basketball, but I mean, that stat line just jumps out at you.
Nuts.
But they do, and both teams are like this. I mean, I think that Kings could learn a lot, as a lot of teams could, just how hard they can run, run back in transition, as hard as they run on offense in transition, whichever player likes to run fast on offense, they do it on defense. Mm-hmm. I've always said, every players get tired, but they're never tired when they got a chance to get the ball and shoot
it. Even the big ones, Jerry?
They get fresh legs, Ryan. They get fresh legs. those legs get tired running back on defense, but they're fresh going on offense.
It's amazing how that works, Jerry.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
And anybody that's ever played basketball knows exactly what I'm talking about.
100% spot on. Absolutely spot on. Lucky to have Jer with us here today. Got a couple of more questions. Jerry, your thoughts on KD to the Spurs potentially?
I think it's very likely. I think it's likely. I think probably the Spurs would like to make a run at Giannis, but maybe it seems like Giannis might be a little bit more inclined to stay another year type thing. But, and he'd have to ask out. But I think that's probably maybe even a done deal. I wouldn't be too surprised. And just be a matter of what they have to give up. And, I wouldn't be, this might sound crazy here, I wouldn't be too surprised if Fox isn't involved in the deal.
Amen. It's Jerry. If you're the Spurs, you have so little skin in the game with De'Aaron Fox. It was basically a tryout. And if you do get a trade, whether it's a Giannis or a KD, doesn't Fox seem like the odd guy out?
Well, especially with the contract kind of thing coming up for
right.
And the fact they got the second pick, which Dylan Harper is probably considered a better point guard prospect at the same age than De'Aaron was, and he and Castle size-wise fit. So
yeah,
so you could. I mean, it really doesn't have that much to do with Fox, other than the fact that it makes sense probably for Phoenix, if they're going to lose Durant, they'd like to have a point guard that's with some real talent like Fox has to fit with Booker. And,
that's a great point.
You at least have redid your team differently. And so and cap wise, it almost fits.
Yeah. And Fox and Rich Paul, they're going to be pushing. He's not going to want to go into this season without an extension.
No, it's exactly. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they got the second pick and Dylan Harper's almost pretty much destined to be the second pick, like Cooper Flagg is the first pick, and there's people that think he's a can't miss, and what little I've seen of him, he sure looks pretty close to a can't miss in my mind. I mean, he's got size 6'4.5" and a left. I mean, he can really get places. I'm not so sure about Ace Bailey, but I'm pretty sure about Dylan Harper. Looks like he can't miss. So that would give the Spurs a chance to even get younger, cheaper. And, I think with Durant, they'd probably want to maybe sign another year extension,
Sure.
To see. But anyway, it really worries me because, the Spurs are going to be a lot better, whatever they do. When you got the second pick and the 14th pick, and you got Castle, Rookie of the Year, you got Wembanyama, who's going to be a major star on his way. No question. Fox, a star. And then some other good young pieces.
If I'm the Spurs, I am directly, much like the Knicks did last year, said we've got to put together a unit that can beat Boston. I'm looking Oklahoma City dead in the eye, because from a payroll standpoint, from a pick standpoint, the Spurs are not too far off the pace that Oklahoma City was on last year.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think there's, they've got the potential. They might be, even if they do all that, I think they can compete for the very top of the West. Not saying they would beat the best teams,
right.
but whoever you are in the West, you don't want to see Durant with the Spurs. You just don't.
You do think that he and Wemby are a good fit together?
I don't think they'd be a great fit together, but I think defensively they would. The length, you could play zone. I mean, you got athletic guards. You could do so many things there. I think they would still probably need, they could use a true center, to be honest with you. But because Wemby really isn't that, but he may someday be. I don't think it'd be the greatest fit. The greatest fit would be Giannis.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Giannis Antetokounmpo with Wembanyama and whoever, probably in that case it would be it may not be Fox still, but Fox may be part of that deal. But I think they'd be really the almost odds on to be the champions.
I mean, Jerry, how would you? We talked about this, I think, briefly last week. Begin to game plan for those two on the same team.
I don't know how you would really.
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
I mean, they both got to be doubled. And last time I checked, that's 4 guys involved right there.
That's a schedule loss. It's a schedule loss. Just count
Yeah.
that one in the L column.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, they're scary to me. That's all. I think they're in a position to clearly upgrade themselves more than any team in the league.
No doubt. Progressive. Jerry, do you see a world where Fox could come back to the Kings?
If it's up to me, I do. Well, I do. I would do it. I mean, because they don't. I mean, if it's a case of you trade DeRozan and something for Fox, I would do that because that makes you better. Now, would I rather go probably try something else? Maybe. But they've got to get a point guard, and Fox is still one of the 10 best in the league, isn't he? I mean, at worst.
Yeah.
So
I have a hard time putting him in the point guard column, though.
I know he's more of a scorer playmaker, not as opposed to playmaker scorer. But then again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they call him a point guard, and he's pretty good at the. So all I'd say is that I'd go back to my feeling all the way. Get the best players you can get.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So okay,
yeah.
So let's take it a step further. Considering how much money De'Aaron Fox would like to be paid, would you rather have De'Aaron Fox at a reasonable number, not a supermax contract, but what his team would think is reasonable, or would you rather have Davion Mitchell back in Sacramento at a much lower number?
I think right now, I think honestly, Davion at a much lower number might be the best way to go. Because I think he could fill some of the gaps. He's certainly not the talent that Fox is, but then again, say 10 million compared to 40 or 45 million, and it'd be another long-term big money contract, with Levine and Sabonis and then Keegan. I think it tend to. I don't even know if you could do it, but it would definitely get you into the apron and just screw you up forever. Where Davion wouldn't keep you. I mean, he'd give you help at the position. If he could play the way he played the last 30 games for Miami, I think you'd be pretty happy. But that's why they're going to pay him and keep him. I'm confident that Miami, they like him. I know that a lot.
I'm 100% with you. He is a perfect Miami fit. Now, his, I should say, DeRozan's name has come up with Miami a few times. I would love if you did a deal with Miami to try to get a Jaime Jaquez Jr. or somebody like that back, Jared.
I agree with you there. I think Jaquez Jr., I mean, guy really balls out. I mean, and the best is ahead for him. And I think a guy that, you wouldn't be scared to play him at 4 or 3. He plays hard and he's a smart guy. Yeah, I would do that. I think, and would it make sense for Miami? Yeah, I think it probably would. They're not trying to get younger. They're trying to get better.
Right, 100%. And I think he's one of those guys that you talk about all the time, where you're buying where the stock is still kind of low.
Yeah. I mean, and you're betting on the come. You're saying, okay, that's the key: identifying talent at a certain level, confident it's going to get better. That, to me, that's what, say, Indiana's done better than anybody. They were able to get, basically three lottery picks the same year when they didn't have a lottery pick: Naismith, Halliburton, and Obi Toppin, and then a second round pick like
Nembhard, yeah,
who would be a lottery pick if you redid it. And so, yeah, that's always a key. Identifying talent as you're confident will get better in the right spots, and then developing it and let it develop, I guess would be another word.
You know what? And it's a great point. I'm going to send you this week with some actual homework because
Oh.
we ended up having so much to talk about since you said redraft. Next week, let's do about 10, 15 minutes redrafting that 22 draft where the Kings picked fourth and got Keegan.
Yeah, happy to. You know, I was doing a little bit of that before we came on. I just was kind of looking through that. It was really interesting, you know, to where clearly you can identify some busts. Guys that just have, and then, you know, it's like with Keegan, I was thinking, you know, if you redid that draft, you'd go about where he went.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's in the top 5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he's actually been better than the third pick, Jabari Smith. But then there's a couple guys down below that would be moved up. You know, guys, Dyson Daniels would go higher. Jalen Williams certainly would go higher.
Oh yeah,
and you know, Christian Braun, I think one of the underrated players. That guy is just really getting better and better, and he's great on both. Getting so he can score, and he always could defend. And so he was like a late 20s, and he'd be a top 12, 13 pick for sure. So
he has such a.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say he just has such a unique body, Christian Braun.
Yeah, you know, he's such a deceptive athlete. You know, he's almost a Russell Westbrook caliber athlete.
You're not lying. Yeah.
It really fools people. You know, he's 6'6", but I mean, he's just, you know, I was talking, your name drop again, but I just had a nice conversation with Rick Adelman a few days ago, talking about his son, obviously, and we'll get into that. But he did mention how David was talking about Braun. He, you know, basically said, really is a fooler. People don't realize, you know, how athletic he is and what a good defender he is. He said teams are starting to figure it out that, oh no, he's not just a guy out there. He's a key guy.
Yeah.
You know, once you get, he's probably the third best player. You know, after Jokic and Gordon, he's probably number 3. And he's over Murray. I mean, as Murray's, because Murray's a terrific scorer, but he's not really necessarily a playmaker or a defender.
And he's kind of a chameleon too. He can play any type of style. He can switch on multiple positions. I think he can be a much better Alex Caruso as his career continues to go along.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, he's a bigger, longer, younger, because he can definitely play, you know, he can defend 4 spots.
Yep.
Not that you want him to guard the 4 as much, but he can some of them. And so, yeah, Caruso, of course, he could guard them all. Now he may hold them and pinch them and trip them and bite them. I don't know, but he you know, yeah, Caruso is one of those guys that's what you're always looking for, a guy who found a way to be really valuable.
Yep. Well, I'm sure the Caucasian comment did a few of those things when he played.
Yeah, I wasn't proud of everything I did. Let's put it that way.
Hey, a win's a win. A win is a win. Flores, we hit it already at the top, so about 10, 15 minutes. I will ask you one last question on the way out the door to follow up on a possible Trae Young or Darius Garland. Is there any world that you can make that deal not involving Malik Monk?
I doubt it. I really doubt it. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
If I'm those teams, he's just somebody I have to have in there.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the money too.
Yeah, the money and which has to to work for both teams. So you have to have somebody in there with a contract. And probably, I mean, I could see, you know, Cleveland being more interested in Monk even than Atlanta, because Monk and Donovan Mitchell would probably be an easier fit.
It's a great point. Baki and Tador are going to be in the U.S. next year, so they want to get together. Jerry, we'll see if we can make that happen.
See if we can make it happen.
Well, hey, do you have any plans for Father's Day besides sports?
Well, my wife and kids they said they're going to do something special for me. So I don't know what that means. It may mean you know, suffocate me in my sleep. I don't know. but so I'm looking forward to it. Let's. I hope it brings joy. I don't know.
Well, some people say like there's that little moment before you pass out that there's a little bit of joy. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, yeah, that could be. And then, yeah, yeah. So, so I'll just count on my kids and wife showing me a little bit of respect. Anyway, that's all I ask.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful Father's Day. And I think I can speak for a lot of Sacramento when they think about the dads of basketball, the grandpas of basketball here in town. Your name comes right up at the top of the list. So we're fortunate to have you, and I hope you have a great day.
Well, thanks. Enjoyed it as always with you and the fans, and look forward to next Tuesday. And I'll try to, give me some more assignments. I'll try to be prepared.
Okay. I thought you'd like the draft one. I
did.
thought you
Oh,
would
yeah,
find the draft one
I like
interesting.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, because
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Amen. All right. We will see you next week.
All
Love
right.
it.
It's Jerry Reynolds Tuesday, let the good times roll. King's legend in the house, he's got the game on scroll.
There's the move.
With endless coaching, wisdom, and stories to share. When he talks shit,
Loves
birds,
it.
and Kings
That-
basketball, you better
What
be
a
there.
good-
Jerry Reynolds Tuesday's the place to be.
Well, man, I could just do that on loop talking with Jerry. Hopefully that went by as quickly for you as it went by for me. Some really good stuff there. In fact, some things that I did not think. I was talking earlier in the show. I said, I don't think Trae Young and Zach LaVine works. And Jerry comes on and says, you know what? I think Trae Young would really make Zach LaVine better. So great stuff from him. We love having Jerry on. Thank you, Tristan. Pair character bowing down, saying thank you. Appreciate it. Tristan getting a lot of run with Mr. Jerry. I will make sure that $10 ends up in Jerry's pocket. So very much appreciated. A lot of happy Father's Days to Jerry out there. I'm sorry, like I'm being honest. You think about your basketball family. Jerry's the dad or the grandpa, right? You've got Jerry, you've got G-Man, you've got Napes. It's a small group that you think about. If you're my age or my age or older, and you grew up on that era of Kings basketball. So excellent stuff there. A lot of good conversation about the finals. How about that insight from Jerry talking about his conversation with Larry Bird? Incredible stuff. A couple of the things that we talked about. I said yesterday, the key adjustment that I felt that the Pacers need to make is getting some space for Hallie. Somehow being able to let him get a shot off, be able to create for himself. And he thinks that also that TJ McConnell could be that way. So fun stuff. We did not get to the draft. We are going to do that. So you all, in fact, I gave Jerry a homework assignment. I have a homework assignment. You all have a homework assignment. In our segment next week with Jerry, we will redraft in anticipation of the NBA draft. We're going to redraft the 2022 draft. If you don't remember, that's the draft that Keegan Murray was drafted. Anybody remember what number he was drafted? I'm staring at it. I know it because the Kings moved up, but curious to know. Number 4. But here's some of the names. Jerry and I were kind of going through them. Paolo Banchero, number 1. Chet Holmgren, number 2. Jabari Smith Jr., number 3. Keegan, number 4. And here's the guys after. Jaden Ivey, he's moved up. Number 5. Benedict Mathurin, number 6. Shaden Sharp, number 7. Dyson Daniels, number 8. Jeremy Sohan, number 9. Johnny Davis from Wisconsin, number 10. Notable names below that. Jalen Williams of the Thunder. The Jalen Williams, not the other Jalen Williams, out of Santa Clara. Jalen Duren, he's kind of had an okay year. Tari Eason was in that draft. Jake LaRavia in that draft, the guy we were talking about. Christian Brown, he was in that draft. What was Brown taken? Christian was taken... Let's see. 21. to think about it. So you can have a chance to redraft with us next Tuesday here on the King's Court with Jer. So looking forward to that. Man, favorite day of the week for sure. John saying sing Patrick. The top might be a very good team. That top 9 might be a very good team. Yeah, you could play Paolo and Chet together, Jaden, and yeah. Okay, I see you. You're a little heavy on the front line. I think you might be asking a lot of Sohan. He's been good at times and inconsistent at others. Fun day. Really fun day. Hey, if you didn't or you weren't with us at the top of the show, I want to remind you we've got a special coming up on Thursday. It's not my special. It's Grant's special. Son of Pearl is coming out. It's a E60 show, documentary, whatever you want to call it, on Scott Pollard and his heart transplant, the entire situation. I'm sure it digs into his family, Son of Pearl. Grant has a special on Thursday. That is going to air, Son of Pearl. That airs on Father's Day. But on Thursday, Grant is going to have the producer on at 5 p.m.
Transplant, his dad, it's fabulous. And so Daniel Lindbergh, who directed this documentary, is going to be on with me Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific. So I hope that you're able to join me for that. I think you're going to find it unbelievably interesting. The debut of that is going to be on Father's Day. So it's coming up this Sunday, and we'll talk more about that on Thursday. Stanley Cup playoffs, Florida is.
So make sure you join Grant Thursday. Mark it down on your calendar, 5 p.m. King's Court will be audio only on Thursday. We're going to lay out and leave the channel for Grant and David. Tonight, Grant's back at 8 o'clock. So join him for Open Forum. Fun show as always. My biggest thanks and just appreciation to Jerry Reynolds for joining us every Tuesday during the summer. We're going to have so much to talk about, even when the finals is done. We'll have the draft. Jerry and I like talking some football. We'll do whatever is topical, and we'll do some fun stuff and interactive stuff like we're going to do with the draft next week. So again, make sure you have your top 10. We'll do top 10. You might only get your top 5 out, but we'll plan for 10. If you want to participate in that segment, we might even take phone calls, and you can call in with your top 5, top 10. Maybe we'll do top 7. So it doesn't go too long, but then you've got to make some difficult decisions. It's top 5. I think you've only got maybe 1, 2 different. Yeah, we'll do top 7. I think that'll be interesting. And the number that you would, the order you would put them in, most importantly. So we will do that next Tuesday with Jer. But before that, Napes, 8 o'clock tonight. Huge thanks to Bennett's, Roseville, Rockland, Howland Fair Oaks, excuse me. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Try to get that Father's Day reservation. If you want to head out there for brunch this weekend or prime rib, if you want to go out any other time, they've got some awesome specials going throughout the week. Happy hour 2 to 6. You got another hour and 6 minutes to make it. If you're quick, get in before the clock strikes 6. Anyways, we are back tomorrow, 3 p.m. here on the King's Court. Tonight, Grant at 8. Join him for Open Forum. Lots to talk about. Night off today between the Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Finals. So no excuse not to get with Grant tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock Pacific. Thank you again for tuning in, listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Appreciate everybody. Go Kings. Light the beam. Domas, how you feeling today?
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Yeah, Domas always says the same thing. I just don't get it. We're out. Court's dismissed.
Jerry Reynolds, Tuesday, let the good times roll. King's legend in the house, he's got the game on the scroll. With endless coaching wisdom and stories to share. When he talks shit, birds, and Kings basketball, you better be